Hi, welcome. I hope you enjoyed my talk on the Trascoro of Palencia. It's based on the research I did. Sorry, started another video. Yeah, it's based on a. No one is watching. And so, if you have any questions, please let me know. Mm. Um, so I received a question earlier about the polychromy of the stone in the Trascoro, and there are no records where I could find any mentions. However, I was when I went to visit the Palencia, I did find some traces of paint in the stonework. So I am guessing that it was probably painted. Though I don't know if this was only fragments of the stonework or if it was the whole work, the whole wall that was polychromed. Um, I have a question from Javi asking if the triptych was commissioned specifically for the Trascoro. I We don't know. We don't know whether when Fonseca commissioned it, he knew that he would place it there. And in fact, it's not, even though he had commissioned it supposedly in 1505, he didn't give it to the cathedral until 1513 with his endowment. And so in the meantime, the painting, the retable might have been exhibited elsewhere or might have just been left in reserve. It's unknown whether Fonseca was always wanted to display and to create this Trascoro altar, but he was probably aware of other similar donations as he had been to Seville, where Pedro de Toledo had made a similar donation and had also created an altarpiece in the Trascoro. Though I don't know if he always had this in mind, or perhaps he initially had decided to create a chapel in a side chapel, which was far more normal. But then arrived into the cathedral and seeing that that wall was bare and needed to be decoration, that decided to use the opportunity to create the altar there. And do we know what is on the other side? So on the reverse of the wings, I kind of the Trascoro is roped off, and you're not supposed to come close to it. But on one of my visits to Palencia, whilst no one was looking, I kind of went on the other side and just kind of peered behind the wings, and they are plain black. They have no decorations at all. There are no images of this. I just, well, kind of went in there and looked at it. But I think that's one of the things that makes me think that they were not intended to be closed. Usually with wings, the reverse is painted as well, because when the altarpiece was closed, that was what was visible. But in this case, they're just plain black. Not even the frame is gilded like in the rest of the retable, which means that they were probably always intended to stay open. So about the taste of the Netherlandish paintings in the court of the Catholic monarchs. Netherlandish painting, well, as I mentioned, Hernando de Talavera, who had been Isabella of Castile's confessor, he advocated for the power of these pictures because of their realism and because it aided meditation and it aided people to imagine the suffering of Christ and religious stories. These pictures were incredibly sought after, and through the trade between the Burgundian court and the Iberian Peninsula, they had become very popular. And so we have the Catholic monarchs, for example, had an incredible collection of works by Van de Weyden or Memling, and there are records of even Van Eyck having visited Alonso the Great in Aragon. And so there had always been an exchange between the northern Europe and the Iberian Peninsula, and so as such, the art of the Northern Renaissance had become very popular in Spain. Was it common to have inscriptions in Castilian at the time for religious texts as the ones in the triptych? That's a good question. I'm not actually sure how common it is to have the inscriptions in Castilian, in the vernacular language, as well as in Latin. I thought this was very interesting, and it really demonstrates that it was intended to be an open space for everyone, and for everyone who could read to be able to read the inscriptions, whereas texts that were intended for the clergy would have probably only been in Latin. So I thought that was very interesting, but I'm not sure of how common it is to have such inscriptions. They're usually smaller ones, kind of a mention of who the donor might have been, but such long detailed texts, I haven't encountered them very often. I'm not sure if there are any more questions. You can always leave comments on the YouTube video, and I can try to answer them later on. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, thank you again.